a 99.9% biological match. And yet, we haven't spoken a single word to each other in 10 years. Blood is thicker than water. It is the golden rule of human existence. From the moment you take your first breath, society drills a singular, unquestionable mandate into your head: family is everything, and family means blood. You are conditioned to tolerate the intolerable because they are your relatives. You are expected to forgive the unforgivable because that is simply what family does. And when you finally have a child of your own, that invisible contract tightens like a snare around your neck. You bring this fragile, perfectly innocent life into the world. You look down at them in your arms, overwhelmed by a fierce, primal instinct to protect them from everything. But almost immediately, the societal guilt creeps in. The grandparents who routinely crossed your boundaries, belittled your choices, or outright abandoned you in your youth now expect unrestricted access to your baby. The relatives who drain your peace of mind suddenly demand a front-row seat to your child's milestones. You are told, in 1,000 subtle and not-so-subtle ways, that denying them this access is the ultimate betrayal. You are told that a child needs their extended family. You are made to feel that if you cut those ties, you are robbing your newborn of their heritage. You are selfish. You are cruel. But let's examine the terrifying reality hiding behind that suffocating guilt. The phrase, "blood is thicker than water," has been fundamentally hijacked. The original ancient proverb was actually, "the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb." It meant the exact opposite of how we use it today. It meant that the bonds you intentionally choose to make, the relationships sealed by shared struggles and mutual loyalty, are vastly stronger than the biological waters you simply happen to be born from. Modern society has flipped that meaning upside down to keep you in line. Today, the biology myth is weaponized. It acts as a permanent hall pass for toxic behavior. It is a lifelong subscription to emotional neglect. It is a heavy, rusted chain that keeps millions of adults anchored to people who fundamentally do not respect them, simply because they share a handful of genetic markers. We constantly conflate biology with safety. We confuse shared DNA with unconditional love. But biology is nothing more than a random roll of the genetic dice. Sharing DNA does not guarantee emotional intelligence. It does not automatically generate kindness, empathy, or consistency. And it absolutely does not entitle anyone, no matter their title, to a backstage pass to your child's life. When you become a parent, the rules permanently change. Your primary job is no longer to be the obedient peacekeeper for a dysfunctional lineage. You are no longer the designated shock absorber for someone else's unhealed trauma. Your singular job is to be the architect of a safe environment for the tiny human looking up at you. And sometimes, building a truly safe environment means doing the unthinkable. It means looking at the people who share your last name, and permanently locking the door. We are told from birth that biological ties are the ultimate safety net. But if shared DNA isn't the actual glue that holds a healthy family together, what is? The answer isn't just a comforting theory, it is a measurable, scientific reality that literally alters the way a child's brain develops. The exact moment it happens is rarely a dramatic explosion. It is usually a quiet, devastatingly clear realization. You are standing in a dimly lit room at 3 a.m, holding your newborn against your chest. The house is completely still. As you feel the steady, fragile rhythm of their breathing, a profound wave of clarity washes over you. You look down at this tiny, helpless life, and you suddenly understand exactly what it takes to protect them. You feel the overwhelming depth of unconditional love. And in that same exact breath, you realize with a shattering grief that you never actually received it yourself. Walking away from your biological family is not a victory lap. It is an amputation. It is a brutal, agonizing severing of the most fundamental human connection. Society loves to paint family estrangement as a petty grudge or a childish overreaction. But those who have actually lived it know the terrifying truth. You aren't just walking away from difficult people. You are mourning the permanent death of a fantasy. You are burying the parents you desperately deserved but never had. You are giving up the ghost of the warm, supportive family network you spent your entire life twisting yourself into knots trying to earn. People who have never stood on the edge of this precipice will judge you. They will confidently tell you that nobody is perfect. They will weaponize forgiveness, urging you to just be the bigger person for the sake of the baby. But they do not understand the sheer, crushing weight of generational trauma. They do not know what it physically costs your nervous system to be the designated cycle breaker. When you hold your child, you are staring directly into the future. And you make a silent, unbreakable vow. You decide that the bleeding stops with you. You decide that the ancestral debt is officially paid. This child will never have to earn their physical or emotional safety. They will never have to shrink their personality to keep the peace. They will never have to perform for crumbs of conditional affection. To ensure that, you have to do the hardest thing imaginable. You have to cut the cord. So, you make the break. You enforce the final boundary. You stop reaching out. You stop absorbing the toxicity. And then comes the silence. It is the deafening, hollow silence of a holiday morning when no one is calling to see how the baby is doing. It is the terrifying isolation of realizing you are completely alone on the front lines of parenthood, utterly lacking the built-in safety net that everyone else seems to take for granted. You are free, yes, but you are also profoundly alone in the dark. You make the hardest choice of your life. You survive the break, and you endure the deafening silence of walking away. But once you've burned down the only house you've ever known, how exactly do you survive the winter? The isolation of that first winter feels permanent. You look around your quiet home, convinced that by protecting your child, you have accidentally condemned them to a life of loneliness. But slowly, the frost begins to melt. The hollow silence is replaced by a strange, unfamiliar sensation. Peace. And in that peace, a radical new paradigm is born. For centuries, we have been sold a biological lie. We are told that human beings are hardwired to thrive only within the boundaries of their genetic lineage. But evolutionary psychology and modern sociology tell a completely different story. When anthropologists study the survival of early human tribes, they don't just look at reproductive trees. They look at mutual cooperation. Our ancestors did not survive the harshest conditions on this planet simply because they shared a bloodline. They survived because they practiced reciprocal altruism. They built alliances based on shared goals, mutual defense, and pooled resources. The individuals who thrived were those who intentionally selected the most reliable, trustworthy partners to stand by their side, regardless of whether they were distant cousins or complete strangers. We did not evolve to be dependent on a rigid genetic hierarchy. We evolved to build logical families. A biological family is an accident of birth. A logical family is an intentional masterpiece. It is a network of human beings bound together by the deliberate choice to show up for one another. And the profound impact of this choice goes far beyond simple comfort. It physically alters human development. Look at the neuroscience of a developing child. When a baby is crying, their rapidly forming brain does not run a DNA test on the person who enters the room to soothe them. The nervous system only registers one thing: consistency. It registers the gentle tone of a voice. It registers the predictable, steady rhythm of a safe heartbeat. Attachment theory, one of the most heavily researched frameworks in modern psychology, proves that a child's lifelong emotional security is forged by responsive, attuned caregiving. The brain requires someone to accurately mirror its emotions and provide a stable harbor in a chaotic world. It does not matter if that harbor is a biological grandparent, a trusted neighbor, or a devoted family friend. Safety is not a birthright. Safety is a behavior. The moment you internalize this scientific reality, the lingering guilt vanishes. It is replaced by a staggering sense of liberation. You are not doomed to replicate the broken dynamics of your past. You have the ultimate evolutionary advantage: the power of choice. You can actively engineer an ecosystem of profound health and stability for your child. You can replace the rusty chains of obligation with the unbreakable steel of mutual respect. You are no longer a victim of your lineage. You are the pioneer of a new beginning. The science is clear. The psychological blueprint for a thriving, unbreakable family dynamic is staring us right in the face. But knowing the theory is the easy part. Actually applying it means you have to answer a terrifying question: how do you convince a stranger to become your family? Building a family from scratch does not happen by accident. It is a deliberate, highly tactical act of architecture. When you walk away from your biological safety net, you cannot just grab the first group of people who offer you a warm smile. You have to become relentlessly selective. You are no longer just making friends, you are actively vetting the future elders, the aunts, and the uncles of your child's world. You are the ultimate gatekeeper of their environment. So, how do you cross the invisible line from a casual friendship to a chosen family? It begins with a radical shift in your standards. You stop looking for people who merely share your hobbies, and you start searching for people who share your deepest core values. You look for the 3 non-negotiable pillars of a logical kinship: emotional availability, proven consistency, and aligned integrity. Emotional availability means they do not shrink away when the reality of life gets heavy. They are willing to have the difficult, uncomfortable conversations that biological families so often sweep under the rug. They apologize when they are wrong. They hold space for your grief and your joy equally. Proven consistency means their actions match their words over time. Trust is not assumed, it is earned through 1,000 tiny, reliable actions. They do not just promise to be there in a crisis, they actually show up on a random Thursday. An aligned integrity means they fundamentally respect the way you are choosing to navigate the world. They honor your parenting boundaries instead of secretly testing them. They view your child's emotional safety as a shared responsibility. You test this by starting small. You invite these candidates into the messy, unglamorous parts of your daily life. A chaotic Tuesday night dinner where the baby is screaming and the kitchen is an absolute disaster. The people who sit down in the chaos, grab a rag, and help you clean up without a single ounce of judgment, those are your builders. Those are your people. Over time, this careful curation yields something breathtaking. You look around your living room and realize you have constructed a high-functioning, fiercely invested support system. It looks like the chosen aunt who calls you on her way to the grocery store, demanding to know if you are out of milk. It looks like the mentor who drops by on a Sunday afternoon and spends 2 hours on the floor building wooden blocks with your toddler, giving you permission to simply close your eyes and breathe. It looks like a holiday dinner table filled with individuals who actively want to be there. There is no underlying tension. There are no passive-aggressive remarks disguised as jokes. There are no ancestral debts to pay. It is a home vibrating with a profound, engineered warmth. The air is entirely clear. The love is completely unconditional. You realize that by losing the family you were born into, you have gained the ultimate privilege, the family you actually deserve. You've built your sanctuary. You've curated your people, and your home is finally vibrating with genuine warmth. But eventually, your child is going to look up and ask the one question you've been dreading, and how you answer it will either shatter their worldview, or bulletproof their future. The day inevitably comes. Your child is a little older now, old enough to notice the shape of the world around them. They look up at you with wide, innocent eyes and ask the question that has been echoing in the back of your mind since the day they were born. Why don't we see your family? Where are my other grandparents? It is the ultimate test. It is the moment where the cycle is either permanently broken or quietly restarted. If you answer with bitterness, you simply pass the heavy burden of your trauma onto their small shoulders. If you lie to them or avoid the question entirely, you teach them that their history is a dark secret to be ashamed of. Instead, you kneel down, look them squarely in the eye, and give them the most empowering truth they will ever hear. You tell them that a family is a beautiful, sacred circle. You explain that sometimes, the people who were supposed to stand in that circle forget how to be kind, how to be safe, and how to protect the people inside it. You tell them that because your absolute most important job in the entire world is to keep them safe, you had to draw a brand new circle. One filled only with people who know exactly how to love them properly. You do not teach them to hate their biological relatives. You teach them something infinitely more powerful. You teach them the absolute, non-negotiable standard of how they deserve to be treated by other human beings. As the years pass, the true magnitude of your agonizing decision finally reveals itself. You watch your child run across the yard, laughing uncontrollably before being scooped up into the arms of a chosen uncle or an honorary grandmother. You watch them navigate the world with a stunning, unshatterable confidence. They are completely oblivious to the constant anxiety and the walking on eggshells that defined your own youth. They have never known the bitter sting of conditional affection. They have never once had to perform, shrink, or hide their true personality just to earn their place at the dinner table. They know, with absolute certainty, that they are worthy of profound love simply because they exist. This is the ultimate inheritance. It is not generational wealth, and it is certainly not a prestigious bloodline. It is the inheritance of profound, unbroken peace. You did not just survive the brutal amputation of your past. You transmuted generations of silent pain into a living, breathing sanctuary. You proved that the deepest, most enduring roots are not the ones we randomly inherit, but the ones we intentionally plant with our own two hands. You have dismantled the oldest lie in human history and replaced it with the masterpiece of a chosen village. The biology myth is dead, and you are finally free to build a lineage based on love, not obligation. The map is in your hands. The only question left is, who are you going to build your empire with tomorrow?